Tane decided to get on YouTube and tell his side of the story.
Don't call him Trippy, please.
What's his name?
Unless you know him personally to call him Trippy.
Oh, shit.
That's your nickname?
Trip.
That's crazy.
That was wild.
You talk about my man in groups?
Oh, there's drama in the JBP. Drama in the JBP. Gotta tell you, man, it's been pretty interesting these past few episodes. We see here that Melyssa Ford hasn't actually been on any of the past 3 episodes on the network. And it looks like there's clues to maybe why she isn't. In Reddit, someone posted one of the merch, something to be rumored to be a merch item that Drake is selling on one of his Finsta accounts. And it peculiarly has Melyssa Ford's image, a younger version, the younger image of her, probably 20 years ago, with the interesting website. Says videovixens.ca. And what's interesting about that, when you type that address in to the search bar, it comes up to Joe Budden's Patreon. So it's the Joe Budden Podcast Patreon, what it leads you to. That brings up a lot of red flags, and I think the reason why there's a tie-in between the merch that Drake is allegedly selling and the reason why she hasn't been on there for the past 3 episodes. Somebody must have gotten wind that this was taking place. This effectively makes Melyssa Ford and Drake business partners if he's selling merch with her image on there, and because she would have had to have cleared that. It sounds like she's putting the business agreement that they may have gotten, whether it's a one-time cash out fee or whether she gets some back end off the purchases. She's putting that over her current employment, underneath the Joe Budden network. And if she's doing it that way, that looks like that's a conflict of interest potentially, because Drake and Joe have not been on the best of terms in the public eye. Even on the Patreon exclusive, filmed the same day as their 10-year anniversary episode, even Flip kind of questioned Mel about her willingness to follow back Drake and kind of play into the whole song where Give Me a Hug, where Drake was pretty much shutting out Melyssa at the expense of what people believe is the expense of Joe Budden, shading him on the record. And how it looked, the optics of how it looked, and she really tried to look obtuse and play it off like it wasn't a big deal, and she was just shouldn't be held to a standard of choosing sides, basically playing the middle, although she had a hissy fit when Flip a couple of years ago wore some socks with Cameron's face on after he said some disparaging remarks at her. So that's pretty interesting that she would take this route, that she's getting a consistent paycheck from the Joe Budden network, yet is willing to potentially do business with Drake, who's a enemy or frenemy, so to speak, with her employer, Joe Budden. I just think that at the end of the day, there's some type of a tie-in between the merch that was debuted and the reason why Melyssa is not there And to be honest with you, the pods have actually been a lot better without her presence. Melyssa has been on the Joe Budden Network now for a full 2 years, going on a year and a half, 2 years and a half, and she hasn't really found her footing into the role that she's supposed to play. You would think somebody with over 20 years of experience in Hollywood and the media game and entertainment industry, all of her connections with celebrities, that she would actually bring her stories to the pod and be engaging and compelling. And unfortunately, she's been the opposite. She goes on 3 hour pods plus and say maybe a full 2 or 3 sentences. Her performance is very lackluster. She gets into emotional fits and she gets offended easily at certain things that are said, seem like out of nowhere when they're obvious jokes. That she shuts down because of it, and it gets awkward where the whole pod has to kind of tiptoe and pod around her silence and her, I guess, silent protest, which is very temperamental and emotional. As somebody who's pushing 50 years old, she should be able to control her emotions at this point and do her job. Hopefully, she can make some type of adjustments on the pod after her hiatus, or the JVP is going to have to figure out a way to get a more engaging female co-host, because it's just not working out to me from what I've seen over the past couple of years. It's almost like she regrets. She had several Patreon exclusives. She's expressed like almost like regret for being on the pod, but she just won't overtly say it. But this is very interesting that there's a website on the back of a merch shirt that leads to the podcast Patreon, and Joe doesn't even have a realistic image of Melyssa Ford that he's selling. Probably it's possible because he's probably approached her to do so, and she probably refused to because they wanted to talk about splits or whatever. So I think Drake is playing some chess, and he's using Melyssa Ford, unfortunately, and she's taking the bait, hook, line, and sinker. We'll see how it goes on from here.